Obviously, I got the 15-minute buys, but if it breaks and goes lower, I'll wait for the lower 88. 15-minute like this? No. We're probably on the same page. I'm not 100% sure that we make it down to the lower 88. I'm going to be honest. Based on the way the market's been acting, how aggressive it's been, the lack of retests at the market open, starting to seem like the 88 sixes, like this happens a lot during the top of, like as the market kind of gets to a zone where it's about to retrace. So we can kind of see here on the daily. Okay. So as price approaches a resistance level, what'll typically happen is on the smaller time frames, it actually speeds up and gets more aggressive. So something I learned when I first started trading is that when the market's going to reverse, it'll typically get to a resistance zone. And then like before it gets there, you'll start to see a noticeable slowdown in volume. Now, that's still true. You can still see kind of like a wedge or a channel or some kind of consolidation. But typically, what happens, especially in this final stretch, like, we're pretty close to the daily 88.6. What'll happen is the market, instead of doing these complete retracements or these deep retests, it'll just do these shallow retests and then boom, shallow retest and boom. And whenever, in a stable market condition, markets don't move in a straight line. So if you have a massive, a very quick, aggressive impulse, typically it's going to get corrected at some point, maybe even in that same session. But when the market's nearing that resistance level, typically it gets very aggressive. There doesn't need to be a massive retracement. And it kind of starts to feel like the market's moving in one direction. Like it's never going to come back. It's just booming, booming, booming. That's when you guys got to watch that FOMO. The FOMO is going to come up. There's going to be that feeling of, dude, I've been missing every trade every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Keep in mind, it's only been fucking 3 days. But that's the recency bias that we all have as humans, right? We tend to remember the most recent thing that happened. So the past 3 days, or the past 2 days, no retest at the market open. Maybe they happen during London. And so as they get more aggressive, they're happening outside of the high volume sessions like New York. A lot of New York traders either start chasing the market. So kind of like, we're not going to wait for a real pullback. We're just going to go long right now, which could work. But that would be me breaking my rules and not following my system based on like 3 days of the market just booming. If it continues to do that, continues to be aggressive, booming in one direction, not giving us full retests or deep corrections, only doing shallow corrections, I'm going to assume that the market is about to reject this daily 88.6 because, I mean, I, I'm trying to figure out how I think about this. Like, why else is the market racing to that zone? If it doesn't, if it's not going to go up, grab liquidity, and then reject. Every time we're trading on the smaller time frames, whenever price gets to our entry or gets close to it, it'll get very, very low volume. And then it'll spike very aggressively into the entry zone and then reject. And so if you don't have the confidence or you haven't had the preparation, you typically will miss those trades. That's kind of what I'm waiting for today, which is ideally at the market open, we can get some sort of pullback to the lows and then go long. And so what'll happen is the market will consolidate pretty close to the entry, get very slow, and then just wick all the way through, very aggressive, one candle. That'll be the entry zone. And then you'll see a rejection. By the time the market rejects, it'll be too late if you're really second guessing yourself. All right, so ideally we can buy this thing up into the sell level, which is all the way up here, about 300 points away. Plenty of room. Okay. I don't want to buy at the top of the range. If this is my range, this is resistance. So the market is close to resistance. And this is support. Makes sense? So I want to buy as close to support as possible. That's too much sauce for the live streams. Welcome back, people. Tons of news going around. Trump is on his Arabian tour. And with one exception, he's skipping Israel. Okay, they're calling it a Middle East tour, but I actually think it's an Arab tour, which is why Israel was skipped. But there's a lot of slight jabs that Trump has been throwing at the Netanyahu government in Israel. So specifically circumventing the Israel government and working directly with Hamas to release the rest of the U.S. hostages. I think the U.S. kind of got word from some of the hostage families in Israel that the government in Israel wasn't too concerned with the hostages anymore and really was more concerned with the conquest of the region, etc. And so America was like, well, if we have American citizens that are stuck there, we are at liberty and we have an obligation to go and save those fucking people. And we definitely don't need permission. That started a bit of a rift because the Israeli government kind of felt like the US needs to consult them prior to negotiating with Hamas or Iran, whatever. So Trump goes and negotiates directly with Hamas, frees the last US hostage, done deal, easy. Then goes to negotiate with Iran directly without kind of consulting with the Israeli government. So this is like a very indirect thing, but if we can just read the room here, there seems to be a little bit of a rift between the Trump administration and the Israeli government. The America has finally agreed to like take responsibility for the humanitarian aid effort in Gaza, letting in food, water, different necessary medical supplies, and this is all done without the help or the, I guess, permission of the Israeli government. So seems to be a lot going on. Trump, he's going to Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and they're just talking about prosperity in the region. And so, I mean, I'm going to add my personal take on here because this is our live stream, and this is kind of what you showed up for. Is I'm going to take this information now. I'm going to do something miraculous with it. Is I'm going to try to build like a recommendation of what should happen. I think the Trump government should recognize Palestine as a state. And I think that if they announce this ideal for a two-state solution, it'll create tons of trust and tons of goodwill with the Arab nations, all 57 of them. And I think that that'll make all of our aspirations in the Middle East much more possible instead of having constant friction and constant pushback because of this one issue. This has been that non-negotiable issue. This has been the starting point. This has been the last line is we got to recognize Palestine as a state. And if the US government can do that, then we're open for business. That's what the UAE said, and that's specifically what Qatar and Saudi Arabia have been saying for many years. So I think this is kind of what Trump is doing. He's going around building great relationships with all of the Arab partners, not being held back by the interests of the Israeli government, as instead kind of looking out for the personal interest of the US, America first. And I think this is a huge, huge, huge change of the last 30 years and a huge step forward. So pretty good stuff. So let's take a look at what some folks are saying about Trump's speech, and then we can go and watch the full speech today, or we can watch the full speech ourselves and make up our own minds.
But for now,
there's a Fed chairman or a vice chairman that's supposed to be speaking this morning, but I can't for the life of me find the live stream. Okay, now, like, am I really at the edge of my seat trying to watch Vice Chair Jefferson give a speech? No. But it is relevant. It might be a market mover, and I can't find it. So if anybody out there has better Google skills, I guess, than I do, please help me fucking find this thing. I searched for it God knows how long. We started off this whole stream with me searching for it. Still can't find it. Not cool. Okay, so let's take a look at what who is this? Kevin O'Leary. Oh, fuck me. I guess this is what we got, people. Nobody wants to hear me explain these things. People want to hear the guy from Shark Tank. All right, so let's see what he's got to say. Maybe we'll add some commentary. Maybe we'll just let it stand. But Chart Addicts members, I sent out the markup. There's a chance the market just continues to boom from here. I get it. I just explained the whole shindig with markets getting more aggressive near daily resistance. And that's what's happening. It's probably going to just boom. But I don't know. maybe fucking fairy tales exist, and we get an 88.6 retest.
We begin outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany here with my co-host Emily Compagno. Also joining us, Lisa Booth, Fox News political analyst, Molly Hemingway, Fox News contributor, Kevin O'Leary, chairman
What is a fucking what is a whole dissertation? How many people are on the show?
Of O'Leary Venture Capital. But first, let's start with Lucas Tomlinson. He is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia with the latest. Lucas, you were in that room for a little, I believe. You're now outside. What are you seeing?
Kayleigh, as you pointed out, we've come a long way from President Biden's fist bump. President Trump making his first official overseas trip here in Saudi Arabia, just like he did during his first term. And he was very hopeful. He talked about the success in Saudi Arabia. He says in just 8 short years, he's seen more skyscrapers, more investment. In fact, earlier today, President Trump and the Saudi Crown Prince agreed on a $600 billion investment in the United States, and that includes the largest arms deal ever.
Yo, this is very important. We just signed the largest, and this is another one of those digs I keep telling you guys about. The largest arms deal ever signed. And you guys know America, not a stranger to selling and buying arms. So $140 billion out of nowhere, by the way, because this is kind of, the Trump administration has really been taking the pro-Israel side in this entire, like for the past probably, since he got into office. And then now in the middle of this Middle East tour where they skip Israel, where they're negotiating with the Hamas and with the Iranian government directly without the help of the Israeli government. We just signed the largest, and Qatar is trying to give Trump a fucking $400 million plane, which I think is a incredulous conflict of interest. Don't even get me started. Okay. But anyways, $140 billion arms deal, massive. So let's see what this is all about. Probably us selling them all of our old stuff, and then we replenish all of it.
$2 billion. And again, here's President Trump on what states, and that includes the largest arms deal ever, $142 billion. And again, here's President Trump on why he's so hopeful about the future between the United States and Saudi Arabia.
Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities.
Isn't that great? We watched this whole thing on our stream yesterday, and we don't have to rely on these like snippets and things like that. Now, this was a bar. I did stop at this part myself and have to run it back because it was a bar. I don't blame them for cutting it out of context. But at the same time, like, they'll take like he's reading off the prompter right now. This doesn't give us any indication about what the Trump administration or what Trump himself feels about any of these issues. That aside. Okay, so let's see what Kevin O'Leary has to say.
Cities together.
By the way, I fucking hate Kevin O'Leary because back when I was really, like, I was such a hard advocate for crypto, and we were trying to get some kind of movements going for adoption. Kevin O'Leary was getting up there every fucking day, him and Jamie Dimon, calling Bitcoin a scam and calling crypto some kind of like money laundering accessory. And then a year and a half later, the guy's got his own venture capital fund for crypto companies called WonderFi. And he's like just dick riding the whole entire movement after having been a starch adversary of the move. Anyways, was he lying to stack up crypto, or was he just a fucking idiot? And then he just, yeah, either way, not a fan. But let's see what he's got to say.
Not bombing each other out of existence.
Now, speaking bombing, it was interesting when President Trump brought up Iran during his remarks. He said that they cannot have a nuclear weapon. We knew this before, but what he said afterwards was interesting. He said he would inflict maximum pressure on Iran. There was no talk anymore about bombing Iran. And you mentioned the sanctions, Kayleigh. That's very notable because, of course, the new Sunni president of Syria, after the Assad regime fell, he is a former U.S. sanctioned terrorist. He was with the Nusra.
That's a whole separate story. First off, if we're really gonna die, and this is not a politics stream, obviously, but my God, people, you guys know I'm knee deep in this stuff. And there's a lot going on, so it's kind of hard to keep your eye on the ball. It's like a game of three card Monty, like the fucking Street Hustler game from New York. Like, there's so many moving parts. But I'll tell you right now, here's three fucked up facts that you guys did not know. Number one, well, I mean, this one everyone knows. I'll add a fourth one here. Okay, we fought the Taliban for 20 years, wasted trillions of dollars, thousands of Americans died, and we just handed the keys right back to the fucking Taliban. Now we're negotiating with them. Other side, here's a fact you didn't know. Did you guys know we funded Al Qaeda in Yemen to fight the Houthis? Even though the Houthis were formed originally to fight Al Qaeda and to kind of get some sort of autonomy in the region. Did you guys know that we were funding Al Qaeda in Syria in order to fight ISIS and to fight the Assad regime? The fuck are we funding Al Qaeda for? You guys know they're the ones who were responsible for 9/11, not Afghanistan, not Iraq, where we killed 1 million people, not any of those, not Libya, not Somalia. It's fucking Al Qaeda. And then now we're teaming up with them to funding them in Syria, funding them in Yemen, funding them in way too many different war zones. So that's pretty stupid. All right, fun fact.
Front. He fought a game fell. He is a former U.S. sanctioned terror.
Oh, so now the Trump administration is going to negotiate with somebody who has a $2 million bounty on their head from the internet, from the ICC or the ICJ, excuse me, the International Court of Justice. I mean, then again, so does Netanyahu. Netanyahu is wanted by the ICJ. So maybe I just bought into the propaganda too. Trump is meeting with a known terrorist who is on the most wanted list, and they're just going to go negotiate like nothing happened. But there's a lot of people on that list, including Netanyahu. So maybe I just bought into it. Let's see what they got to say here.
Terrorist. He was with the Nusra Front. He fought against the United States. But
last thing, 3 minutes until market open. I am looking for this drop into the entry zone for a double bottom. And it's really simple as that. If you guys miss it, then wake the fuck up. I don't know what to tell you.
people are hopeful. Bear with me.
Everybody, it's Tony Robbins and Dean Gratz.
What? Oh, I'm on the wrong channel again.
They don't want to see Iran going back into the country. They don't
Yeah, I'm proud of myself, man. I got a Tony Robbins commercial. You guys know I'm doing something right with my life, man. I've been watching that personal development.
want to see Syria being used as a forward operating base by the Iranian regime. And you mentioned in your open, President Trump had some pretty harsh words for those who came before him, not just President Biden, who, of course, infamously called the Saudi prince a pariah, visited here during the midterms before the midterms in 2022. He had some harsh words about his predecessors, nation builders, if you will. Let's roll the tape.
The gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. And
He said Kabul. Bro, I'm fucking geeking, man. I think he meant Kabul.
the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more
That's fucking
nations than they
hilarious.
built, and the interventionists were intervening in.
I'm getting the feeling that Trump doesn't really know shit about geopolitics. I'm thinking if it wasn't for what's our chief diplomat's name right now? This guy is a fucking stud, complete stud. He's basically like single-handedly responsible. What's his name? Fuck. It's not Lighthizer was the old one. Oh, Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff, chief diplomat, basically creating world peace. This guy's in a different country every single time I read about him. Absolute stud. So ideally, he has folks like that who are informed. They're not like legacy swamp machines. These guys are genuinely skilled, like very, very skilled. Same with Scott Bessent. Like I have my personal opinions about Scott Bessent being a fucking George Soros stooge and a plant inside the Trump administration, but he is one of the most competent people when it comes to macroeconomics and markets. And so, these are the kinds of people that I'm glad are around Trump to kind of help because he has a really good intuition. So he says, like, we shouldn't be getting ripped off by all these countries. They should pay their fair share. Great intuition, because all the experts and all the fucking PhDs didn't even come up with that one. But now there needs to be a practical way of actually achieving these things. And that's why I'm kind of banking on having great advisors.
Complex societies that they did not even understand themselves.
And so again, President Trump saying this, he's back, and what he's doing is solidifying the relationship. It's notable that this is his first stop on his first official overseas tour, and the president gave a lot of plaudits to the.
All right, it's the market open. So we're seeing that first candle. Guys, just learn something for once. Just learn something. Look at the direction of the market open. So right now it's 9:30. And then let's see how many minutes it takes for this thing to switch up and just completely go the opposite direction. And we might have to go down to a smaller time frame here just to get a better seat of the show. Okay. So right at the market open, we're seeing a bullish candle. Oh my God, everybody, we should be buying. And so if the market is trying to instigate you to buy, if that's the emotion that is trying to pull out of you, you got to ask yourself why. The market really is trying to get me in this FOMO mindset right this second to make me think the market's just going to leave the station right now and not come back. It's probably because it's going to swipe down first, but we'll see. Okay, so I still think the swipe down's coming. Be patient, and this is going to be a fun day. That's all I'm going to say.
Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who's notable when he arrived here. I'm not sure if you have the video to roll, but when Air Force One arrived here in Riyadh, there was the Crown Prince at the bottom of the stairs from Air Force One. You did not see that when President Biden came here in 2022. There were Saudi F-15s, escort Air Force One here to Saudi Arabia. A very hopeful message and a restoration of this relation here between the Saudis and the Americans. And it was very notable, Kaylee. One last thing, President Trump, when he walked out to give his big speech here in Riyadh in front of, by the way, the Fortune 500. He walked out to Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA. Ladies, gentlemen.
Legend.
Yes, well, Lucas, keep us updated. There have been rumblings about a diplomatic deliverable possibly. So keep us updated if you hear more. Thank you very much. You know, Kevin, there was a administration official who said to Politico,
this man, Kevin, is out here on this like Temu version of The View, bro. What is happening right now? But why is he sitting like that, bro? This guy is every James Bond villain combined. Hold on.
The president
No,
said
he had the Andrew Tate with the diamond hand. He was look.
his
All right, let's
remark,
go.
there are no permanent enemies,
Sorry,
only
guys.
permanent interests is what he's imputing there. And really what's going on with this trip are two things. One is China. He doesn't want China to develop a relationship in what I call the Middle East circle of friendship. And that is Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. And then you ask yourself, why are all these AI
at 12?
Oh my God, my bad, yo.
You're a tosser and a turn.
Is number one in AI development and spending. Number two is China. Number three now, and very advanced in certain verticals, is the United Arab Emirates. They are so far ahead in many different verticals. And he wants to see that cooperation on AI be removed from the China model, because remember there was talk about the UAE starting to talk to China about AI. He doesn't want any of that. He wants these companies to form very strong bonds in AI. And when we get later this week to the UAE, that's what you're going to hear about. This is crucial. So China and AI, and of course, all this money talk's fantastic. But we're in an economic war with China, and he is cutting them off at the pass in the fastest growing region on earth, the Middle East.
Emily, and here are some of the CEOs and businessmen he had lunch with. You can see their pictures here. Elon Musk, Larry Fink, Sam Altman, Reid Hoffman, Jensen Huang, among others.
We talked about throughout the.
Jensen, you're getting more and more famous by the day, man. More and more famous. You got Elon Musk on the same panel. All right. Andy Jassy, head of, well, now he's the head of Amazon. He was the former head of AWS. Larry Fink, BlackRock. You're amongst good company, brother.
Atrocities that Hamas has committed on the Israeli people, especially in light of, the hostage situation for almost 600 days and the like.
I'm going to make the send me a signal joke every single time I see this now.
We talked about that the surrounding countries wanted a path to peace in the form of commerce, and that they were absolutely open to and supported recognizing the Jewish state, its independence and its sovereignty in the long-term investment for the betterment of their people in the way of commerce, i.e. that yes, business rules, and that it is sort of an archaic past that they were trying to leave behind. And I appreciated so much the president with his point here, all about investment, all about the future of business, and offering a path forward, he said. You hit the nail on the head. He said, there are no permanent enemies. I don't feel that way.
Who the fuck is this? Look, man, you got a billion. You got. I don't like Kevin O'Leary, but bro, he spoke for about 30 seconds. You got four panelists talking about some what? No, fuck this. Hold on, people. What are we doing here? All right, well, I guess that's the Trump candle. I don't know. Market open, massive bullish momentum. Let's see if we get this pullback that we're anticipating. Probably not, but anything can happen. It is the market open. What exactly would be the cause of just a straight send off like this? Well, number one, all of these moves are already, I don't want to say priced in, they're already planned. And whoever is looking to move big money in the markets needs to have these fundamental or these macroeconomic events or geopolitical events to kind of hide their move. Otherwise, they would move the market too rapidly. They would show their hand and it would kind of fuck up their ability to execute the trade. And so right now there's a lot going on, but there's a lot of optimism too. Like just it's crazy what a simple conversation can do. Trump went talked or spoke with Iran, spoke with Saudi Arabia, spoke with today I believe he's in the UAE. And simple conversations later, now we have some understanding, common ground, and we just signed the largest arms deal in history. What the f Okay, so I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. I think this prospect of global peace really starts in the Middle East, if I'm going to be honest. The Middle East is the most contentious region in the world, and the relations between the West and the Middle East has been very, very contentious and been stifled mostly by the Palestinian conflict. And so now that we've kind of like demonstrated on the global stage that there's some kind of cooperation going on, it's a lot more likely that the rest of the world, who really doesn't have like doesn't really have skin in this game. They're just, maybe China, maybe South America, maybe, a bunch of countries in Africa. They're looking at this prospect of the US making peace in the Middle East and thinking to themselves, well, if that can happen, then we definitely have a good chance of either mending relationships or curating a new relationship. If you can go make friends with all the Arab nations in the Middle East and you're America, there ain't shit, there's nothing off limits. Everybody's open for business now. So if that's not a reason to be optimistic, I don't know what is. But there's still a lack of clarity on all the trade deals, which is what I think the markets are waiting on. And of course, guys, just a quick reminder, tomorrow, that's when the Russian delegation and the Ukrainian delegation are going to be meeting in Turkey. Now, Zelensky and Putin are both rumored to be set to show up, to be scheduled to show up. But of course, they're both talking crazy. Okay, Putin basically said, if there's no prospect of a negotiation or like a meaningful deal being signed, why would I go waste my time? And Zelensky said that unless there's some meaningful concessions from Russia, meaning they have to give up a bunch of shit that they want, then there's just no hope for a deal. So Trump might take a break from his Middle East visits to go over there to Turkey. I mean, he's right there. It's fucking neighbors. Maybe that's the whole plan all along. Make a bunch of friends and then be able to go there and then make world peace between Russia and Ukraine. But tomorrow is going to be the date that we've all been waiting for. It's been years of this conflict. I know it's kind of annoying to even hear about the conflict, but imagine the people who died. 1 million people died. For fuck's sake. People. All right. This is going to get me canceled off YouTube, but I'm trying to get you guys like the real info. So here it is. Ukraine was a hub of money laundering and bioweapons research and biochemical engineering and the rest. And there's a lot of money laundering documents and basically just the evidence. And so there is like the equivalent of burning evidence, the equivalent of Hillary Clinton bleaching her fucking laptop, right? They burned the entire Ukraine to the ground so that their nefarious activities don't come to surface under the Trump administration. It's an absolute monstrosity of a play. And the people running this thing, I still don't know who it is, but I'm telling y'all, all right, tinfoil hats off. We'll get back to some regular shit if you guys want, but just truth be told, that's an egregious crime against humanity to burn an entire country to the ground. Number one, because fuck, how do I say this? fuck it. The Hillary Clinton arm of the Democratic Party was spiteful at Putin for helping to get Trump elected in 2016. And so they basically just waged this sort of like false flag attack with like saying that we would accept Ukraine into NATO and knowing that there would be some kind of response from Russia, specifically because Ukraine at the same time was oppressing the Russian native speakers in the Donbass and Luhansk and Donetsk. And so the Russians were like, well, those are Russian ethnic speakers. We're not going to let them just get bombed. And there's like mines and minefields just being left around, and kids are picking up mines and getting blown up. And these are like Russians, but they live in Ukraine. And so Russia was like, we're going to step in. And then there was this whole talk of Ukraine joining NATO and then them putting missiles on the border of Russia. So Russia stepped in. It's a fucking shit show. All right. So gladly, or hopefully tomorrow, Turkey, Trump is going to show up in person and ideally facilitate the first steps of this negotiation. Everyone's expecting Trump to do everything in like a snap of a finger. The fact that we even got folks in the same room that have never, I don't think that Putin and Zelensky have spoken since the war started. Do you guys know how fucking insane that is? How many millions of people got to die before these people pick up the goddamn phone? And so tomorrow could be the day it all ends. Okay. It's been about 11 minutes since the market opened. We're seeing a beautiful rejection. If God is good, and he is every day in every way, maybe we got to retest. And if not, then God's trying to teach me a lesson in patience because, man, that's 3 days in a row. Anyways, let's see what Trump has to say in the GCC. I want to find one of these publications that's not like a fucking sham. The full hour, like I really want to watch the full hour because I still haven't seen it. Maybe let's watch a little bit of this. We'll react to it live. I watched a few. Oh, this is cool. Okay.
فخامة الرئيس اللبناني وتركه.
Let's go.
أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو إن المستقبل الذي نطلع عليه من خلال تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة.
Translations? What? This is the Associated Press with no translations?
As I said, بما يحقق
Well, I can translate for you. I speak Arabic. So let me see if I can translate for you guys.
الأمريكية في عام 2024 قرابة 120 مليار دولار أمريكي. ونطلع لاستمرار العمل مع الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية لتبادل.
Oh, they're talking about the arms deal, 140 billion, or he said 120 billion. So I guess the reporting was a little bit off.
التهديدات
Let me see.
ومواجهة التحديات الإقليمية والدولية برؤية مشتركة لتحقيق الأمن والاستقرار الإقليمي والدولي. أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو إن دول مجلس الشارك المتحدة الأمريكية إيمانها بأهمية الشراكة الاقتصادية والتعاون التجاري
Bro, what the hell is the Associated Press doing, bro? No translations is crazy,
شريكا
bro.
تجاريا واستثماريا رئيسيا لدولنا حيث بلغ الحجم التبادل التجاري بين دول مجلس التعاون المتحدة الأمريكية في عام 2024 قرابة 120 مليار دولار أمريكي.
Yeah, that's 120 billion. Not 140.
تبادل التجاري وتقوية العلاقات الاقتصادية وفتح آفاق جديدة للاستفادة من الفرص والتعاون في جميع مجالات بما يحقق مصالحنا المشتركة. أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو.
Basically, just talking about the prospects of partnerships, and you guys know how they talk. Basically, yeah, you guys will hear Trump speak, and it's basically like this canned sort of speech about partnerships and cooperation. Yeah, that's what he was saying. Let's get to Trump's speech. Did you guys saw Macron got caught with a bag of him and a bunch of the Keir Starmer got caught with a bag of coke yesterday? What the fuck is going on? Trump is over here world peace. And you have this cuck Macron getting caught up with the blow. All right. This is what Trump is doing, making peace with the Middle East. 1,000 years, the Middle East hasn't seen peace, people. Is Trump the one?
Incredible welcome you've shown us. It's been an unbelievable stay. He's a very special man. I also want to thank the other leaders here today, including friends from United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, all friends. As I said in my address last night, the Gulf nations are at the forefront of creating a stable, peaceful, and prosperous Middle East. And I have to say that I've seen such progress. It's really incredible. I've also seen great unity and friendships. I spent a little time with you just before this. And
by the way, if you guys are playing catch up, we send out a morning report every single morning. You guys should kind of have an idea of what to expect. Vice Chair Jefferson is speaking right now. We have The San Francisco Fed president is going to be speaking a little bit later. We got some earnings reports coming out today. We got some global highlights. Obviously, we have China, Europe, and Trump's Middle East tour. So make sure you guys subscribe to our email list, get this morning report so that you guys aren't playing catch up. We're just sitting here waiting for the market to present the perfect opportunity. Oh, look at this rejection. What did it take? 9:45. So 15 minutes post market open. We had a massive impulse to the upside. Encouraged a lot of people to go long. Hopefully none of our members, for fuck's sake. Please do not ruin my day and tell me some of y'all got caught up in that. Okay. But now we have a nice rejection to the downside. So if we hold support here, then we could fill the wick to the upside, continue. More than likely, I want to push down. I want to see a push down to the London session lows, to the Tokyo session lows of this range right here, for a perfect entry for the buys.
I've seen tremendous unity, tremendous friendship, and the whole world is watching the Middle East, and many are watching with envy. You have something very special going on. Incredible opportunities are within reach for this region. If we can simply stop the aggression
What a rejection.
from
Come
a small
on.
group of pretty bad actors. The Biden administration created havoc and bedlam by basically being incompetent, but by empowering Iran and its proxies, sending them billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars, senselessly. I couldn't believe it to watch. One of the reasons I said, let's do this again. But what they did was so bad while turning his back on the Gulf.
Look, slight context. I told you guys that we were funding Al Qaeda and we were funding some of the worst groups in the world just to kind of fight other groups because we were kind of fighting through proxies in the Middle East. Well, yeah, we were funding a lot of Iran's proxies as well. The same ones that are pledged to annihilate America, death to America. We got Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. Now, the Houthis never got money, even though we did pay ransoms for ships as opposed to just setting military. And look, I'm kind of 50-50 on the bombing campaign that Trump's done. You really should go and get congressional approval before you go start fucking wars. But at the same time, Congress is useless and we're not paying ransoms to the fucking Houthis anymore. And I think this was a really good step in the right direction. But with Hamas and Hezbollah, they were getting tons of money and support. And this was kind of like a backroom deal to hopefully they would destabilize within themselves. And it was a stupid calculation, but that's what Trump is talking about, funding Iran's proxies with billions of dollars and how stupid the last Biden administration was.
Allies, those days
Anthony Blinken.
are over. Everybody at this table knows where my loyalties lie, always have. They'll never waver, never. And we'll stand with our friends and partners and we'll confront the aggression that threatens the Biden administration.
Whoa. Everyone keeps talking about Trump as anti-Israel. Was that a pro-Israel little thing right there?
Created havoc and
We're going to support our friends no matter what. All right. Market's coming down to the entry. I'm not going to need to say it. You guys know what to do. Tester entry. Now, if the market does not reject, if it just continues to bleed through and fill the wicks, be mindful. That's why we enter a tester first and the full entry second. Because if this thing does continue for a Model 2, you do not want to be stuck holding a full entry. Okay? You want to be stuck holding a tester entry. Then you have enough ammo to re-enter, which is going to be pretty soon here. But listen to what Trump just said.
By basically being incompetent, but by empowering Iran and its proxies, sending them billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars, senselessly. I couldn't believe it to watch. One of the reasons I said, let's do this again. But what they did was so bad while turning his back on the Gulf allies. Those days are over. Everybody at this table knows where my loyalties lie, always have. They'll never waver, never. And we'll stand with our friends and partners and we'll confront the aggression that threatens us all.
Like, you can interpret that as saying that we're talking about the Gulf partners. That's not the past participle, the article that you're speaking of in the sentence. You're speaking about the Gulf partners. And then he says, you know where my loyalty lies. It's never changed. You know who we support against, people against aggression. So you could mean that to be like, okay, we support our Gulf partners. Trump has been a huge partner of the Gulf states for a long time with all of his personal ventures, the golf courses and the sporting events and the great real estate ventures, etc. But also, it could be meant to say, like, you guys know where my loyalty is, and we're not going to change that. Everybody here at the table knows because he's sitting with Marco Rubio right behind him, chief neocon and avid supporter of the Israeli cause and head of our foreign policy.
I want to make a deal with Iran. I want to do something if it's possible. But for that to happen, it must stop sponsoring terror, halt its bloody proxy wars, and permanently and verifiably cease its pursuit of nuclear weapons. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. I don't imagine there's anybody at this table or anybody in this room that would say they can. I'm strongly urging all nations to join us in fully and totally enforcing the sanctions that I just placed on Iran. And we also.
I know I just keep interrupting, but the context is important. So everyone's probably wondering, like, why is Iran not at this sort of summit? There's a huge difference between, like, Iran is Shia, which is one sect of Islam, and then Sunnis, which are the predominant sect of Islam, which make up the majority of the Middle East. These are Sunni nations. Now, realistically, the royal families of these countries, they're not exactly Sunni. They're sort of like, there's Wahhabism, and Wahhabi is kind of like an offshoot of Sunni Muslim or Sunni Islam. But regardless, they're all part of the same team. And really, the biggest kind of clash that there is in the Middle East is not really Iran and Israel. It's actually Iran and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia being the kind of in the Sunni tradition, being the keeper of the two mosques and the sort of like the holy land of Islam with Mecca and Medina. But Iran, as the Shias, don't really subscribe to that. They feel like Saudi Arabia is kind of sold out to the West, and they're not really abiding by the tradition of Islam, etc. And so they kind of had their own rifts, and that's where a lot of the rifts have been happening, where you have pro-Sunni groups and pro-Shia militant groups sort of fighting in all of these countries through proxy, and that's what's created a lot of this tension. So it's not just the Israel versus Iran sort of question. The Sunni and Shia beef goes very, very deep. And I think that there's a massive contention between those two parties. That's why Saudi Arabia and the rest of the Gulf states have come here with the US as opposed to going to do a summit with Iran.
To place secondary sanctions, which are in certain ways even more devastating. Iran, as you know, had no money when I left office. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. There was no attack. There was no thought of attack. There would have been no attack if I were president. But bad things happened in that election. And
yeah, I just drew a fib from this swing low of the pre-market open to the highs, and we actually did reject the 88.6. This is something I was paying attention to earlier, but I was yapping. So ideally, we get one more retest back down to the zone so we can enter again. But that's a beautiful 88 rejection. I drew it from 30-minute body to the top of this market open wick. Okay, so ideally we get a fill of this wick back to the downside for a retest, and then we can get the full move for the buys. Let's see if this plays out.
I said, let's do it again. And by doing it again, it became much more historic. It's a much more historic election, much more powerful election. And we have a mandate. We won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won the great leaders you are. We are currently exploring normalizing relations with Syria's.
Okay, there's that reentry. I'm going to pause
The government,
my
as
screen
you know.
share. I'm just going to let Trump continue to speak. I'm going to pause my screen share, enter this trade. Be right back.
Beginning with my meeting with President Ahmed al-Shara and Secretary Rubio's meeting with the Syrian foreign minister in Turkey after discussing the situation with Crown Prince Mohammed and President Erdogan of Turkey. I am also ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria to give them a fresh start. It gives them a chance for greatness. The sanctions were really crippling, very powerful. And I spoke to Mohammed, and I spoke to our friend from Turkey, who we just spoke to also.
So he just said he was going to remove the sanctions on Syria. Do you guys know who's in charge of Syria right now? Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda's in charge of Syria. They got rid of Bashar al-Assad. Okay, what? Why didn't they lift the fucking sanctions while he was there? Guys, I know we're not sitting here trying to be a fan club for dictators, but at the same time, you know what's worse than a dictator is absolute chaos and a vacuum that needs to, or a vacuum that needs to get filled. And so there's all this infighting between groups, and now we're gonna remove the sanctions when Al Qaeda has taken over the country. What the fuck is going on? I'm gonna assume he's got a better play for this. He's got a bigger picture for this, and I'm really gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. But it's been 120 fucking days. At this point, I think we can get some sort of clarity about why the fuck we're going to be sitting there negotiating and recognizing Al Qaeda and we're still not recognizing Palestine as a state.
By phone now, but felt very strongly that this would give them a chance. It's not going to be easy anyway, so gives them a good, strong chance. And it was my honor to do so. So we will be dropping all of the sanctions on Syria, which I think really is going to be a good thing. And we made a speech.
I'm going to enter again, just a heads up. And then if it creates that double bottom, I'm going to enter a third time. So I've saved enough ammo to still have, enough ammunition to enter at the double bottom. And that's what I'll be looking to do.
Last night, and that was the thing that got the biggest applause from the room. We had a very crowded room with thousands of people, and the statement that got the biggest applause was dropping the sanctions on Syria. Likewise, in Lebanon, there's a new chance for a future free from the grip of Hezbollah terrorists if the new president and prime minister can rebuild an effective Lebanese state. We just appointed a very good ambassador, a friend of mine who's Lebanese. And
let's go.
I didn't even know that. And I said, why do you want to be the ambassador to Lebanon? That could be dangerous. He said, I don't care. I grew up there. I love the country.
Wow.
And I don't care if it's dangerous or not dangerous. I want to do that.
Those are my people, man. I'm loving this. So I can give you guys a first person perspective here. As somebody who was born in Lebanon, all my family's out there. It's horrible to kind of see the country roped into the actions of a group, let's say Hezbollah, for example. It's kind of like saying like all the fucking Biden policies, like the transgender fucking Elmo Sesame Street in Nicaragua, like that was like a consensus of the US people. It's like, oh, well, you guys supported that. No, the fuck, I did that. You understand? And so we have to be very mature and we have to be fucking adults and to separate the actions of the people of a country from the government of that country. The government is usually an administration of less than 100 people, usually less than 20 people, who are making executive decisions on behalf of millions and typically get folks killed, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's kind of nice to see the separation here and it's really just about personalization and humanization. So Trump saying that he appointed somebody who was a close friend of his that's Lebanese allows them to humanize the population as opposed to just like listening to propaganda, sort of, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is a really good direction for us to head to, not this hegemonic sort of like neocon perspective of everybody who's, let's just say an adversary of Israel is an adversary of the US, and we can't make these very obvious trade deals and these obvious sort of partnerships with the biggest oil producing countries and some of the biggest GDPs in the world. So I think this is very hopeful.
And he's a very capable man, very successful man from the United States, and he's going to be your ambassador. He's going to do a great job. But this is a once in a generation opportunity to forge a Lebanon that is prosperous and at peace with its neighbors.
Wow.
And I think things can really happen there. They've had a tough go of it for a long time. At the end of my first term, all of the momentum in this region was toward peace. I especially want to thank and congratulate the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain for their vision and courage in signing the historic Abraham Accords.
Watch everyone become a Bahrain expert over the next week after this speech. And I promise you guys, nobody on this stream can find Bahrain on a map. Maybe two of you. If Paul's on here, he definitely can.
something that's a very big thing. I believe we would have had it filled out.
Oh, apparently Trump is speaking live in Qatar. T, you're a legend. I thought that was going to be later today. There's no way.
The quickest way.
All right, one more retest. I believe we're going to get one more retest to the downside before we push up, but I'm already in. Oh, this is dope. Let's go.
Distinguished guests and members of the
It just started. Yo, T, you're a legend.
media. سنشهد الآن التوقيع
Oh no, it started 2 hours ago.
في مجال الطيران بين دولة قطر والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
All right, they're just doing basic introductions, saying this is going to be the negotiations or the sort of meeting between the U.S. and Qatar.
يوقعها عن الجانب القطري المهندس.
Reuters doesn't have a translator either, bro. Associated Press and Reuters are a complete fucking letdown.
محمد المير الرئيس التنفيذي لمجموعة الخطوط الجوية القطرية وعن
Damn, Qatari Arabic is fucking damn near gibberish to me.
الجانب الأمريكي سعادة السيد.
You having a hard time?
رئيس التنفيذي.
But this is not that. It's like you trying to speak Vietnamese. It's not the same language, bro.
لشركة بوينغ. We will now witness
I know what Boeing means.
the signing of an agreement in the field of aviation
Oh, there we go.
between the state of Qatar and the United States of America.
There we go.
Boeing purchase agreement signed on behalf of the state of Qatar by His Excellency Badr Mohammed Al Mir, CEO of Qatar Airways Company, and on behalf of the United States, Kelly Ortberg,
Why is this chopping so much?
President and CEO of the Boeing Company. And on behalf of the United States, Kelly Ortberg, President and CEO of the Boeing Company.
Okay. This is dope stuff. Dude, America's back, baby. America's not even back. Like, I don't even think we've ever been this reasonable. Like, everybody's open for business. Why the fuck are we sitting here creating unnecessary conflicts left and right, or exacerbating existing conflicts, or interjecting ourselves in other people's conflicts? It's like, bro, we are the biggest buyer in the world. These guys have a lot of business to do with us. They're not trying to do with the war and the bullshit either. These are obvious partnerships, and it'll create less tensions because now we have a line of contact in the Middle East as opposed to just either doing our own operations or even worse, just doing something that's sort of counter to the productivity of the Middle East. This is, I think, a huge step. My biggest fear, though, folks, these fucking libs, they come back, take over. They're going to undo all the goodness. They're going to open the border back up. They're going to tear up these trade deals. They're going to send us back into the fucking dark ages.
Defense between the state of Qatar and the United States of America, signed on behalf of the state of Qatar by His Excellency Sheikh Saud bin Abdurrahman bin Hassan Al Thani, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of State for Defense Affairs, and on behalf of the United States of America by the Honorable Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense of the United States of America.
Oh, God.
Firstly, a statement of intent on defense cooperation between the state of Qatar and the United States.
Is that Pete Hegseth? Oh, God.
Secondly, a letter of offer and acceptance for MQ-9B aircrafts.
I really hope that whole thing about Qatar gifting Trump a plane was a lie. Conflicts of interest.
And a letter of offer and acceptance, FS Lids. Thank you. It is my honor to announce the signing of a joint declaration of cooperation between the state of Qatar and the United States of America. Signed on behalf of the state of Qatar by His Highness, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, and the Honorable Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America.
Yeesh. Got a ring to it, ain't it? Yo, drop a like on the stream, people. Drop a comment too. Obviously, YouTube has been hiding the stream because we're giving out too much sauce. They don't like me giving out the truth. They said, no, we're trying to pacify the people. We can't give them real context about these different, highly consequential events that are happening. No, we got to keep people lullified in obscurity. No, we're here to get people the right info. That was dope. They just traded pens right there. He said you get to keep this one. It's like trading jerseys. When you guys ever see football players just trade their jersey?
Statement from His Highness the Emir and the President.
Thank you very much. We had a couple of hours of great meeting with the president, and we discussed many issues, our great bilateral relationship, and also the situation in the region. Of course, I think after signing these documents,
I'm not sure why it's so choppy. I tried to reduce the quality here to see if it'll load better, but it just seems like it's clipping on their end.
signing these documents, we are going to another level of relationship between Qatar and the United States. So I just wanted to thank you, Mr. President, again for this historic visit. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you very much. And this has been a very interesting. The world, we discussed Russia and Ukraine, where
As soon as he's touched the mic, you see this?
guys, we certainly it's been really
I can still see one more retest,
an
but
interesting
this
situation.
is a really
I
good
have a feeling
rejection.
it's going to work out. I think it's going to work. It's got to work out one way or the other. We know it's going to work out. But you were of great help, and other things. But in particular, the trade. The trade is the. Kelly's telling me from Boeing that's the largest order of jets in the history of Boeing. That's pretty good. And
So we just signed the biggest arms deal in arms deal history, and then at the next day we signed the biggest deal for Boeing to sell planes. I guess these are going to be like old planes or whatever they're going to be to Qatar.
And
Wow.
it's 140. Was that a 140 or 160?
It was 120. My translation's right.
Yeah, but you're right. It's actually 200, including the 40. So
He just made up a new number, bro. He went from 140, 160, 200. Buddy said 120 last time.
for $200 billion. But 160 in terms of the jets, that's fantastic. So and congratulations to Boeing. Get those planes out there, get them out there. But I just want to thank you. We've been friends for a long time, long before politics. Well, for you, it was politics. For me, it wasn't, right? But we've been friends for a long time. And this is an outstanding man. He's a great man. And we're going to help each other.
So TP1 got smashed. Now we're approaching TP2 here. And we just breached TP2. So partial profits. I'm actually going to pause my screen here. Take partial profits, move stops. Everything from here on out is going to be extra credit.
The United States is in a very strong position militarily. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. You're buying a lot of that equipment, actually, and I think we're going to see some of it in action tomorrow at the, we won't call it an air fair, but it's going to be sort of an air fair. We're going to be shown a display that's going to be incredible. They have the latest and the greatest of our planes and just about everything else. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun and very interesting. But I just want to thank you for the friendship, for the long time friendship. And again, long before any of this stuff.
Patience pays, people. I'm done for the day. I'm going to be trailing my stops. So on Trade Evade, I actually have my stops under this body of the 30-minute candle. So if the market does come back, it'll probably come back to retest the body of these candles right here. So I got my stops. Really just kind of like minimize the drawdown on the equity drawdown. So it's not really like the smartest place to put it. The smartest place to put the stops would be below the body of these candles. Just in terms of not getting hit. But So far, so good. I mean, I'm basically done for the day. Everything from here on out, like I said, extra credit. Put something in the chats, put your entries in the chats, or just put your profits or something in the chats if you guys took this trade. If not, then give me a reason why not. Give me an articulable reason why you didn't take the trade.
If we just liked each other, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But we always had a very special relationship. And we came from Saudi Arabia, where we have another great man over there that's a friend of yours. And you two guys get along so well and like each other. You sort of remind me a little bit of each other, if you want to know the truth. They're both tall, handsome guys that happen to be very smart. But he's also a very special guy, and it's good to see all the relationships forming in the Middle East, because the Middle East.
Qatar and Saudi Arabia, they get along, but they don't really get along. So getting that comparison to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, I don't know if that's like the most flattering thing that the Qatari Emir wants to hear, but
I want to thank the media. The media has been very fair, actually, and it's a great honor to be with you. This is, you take a look at this room. This room is the real deal. That's called white marble. It's very hard to buy. Believe me, I know very well. If you try to buy it, you can't buy it. And you just take a look at what you have here. It's been incredible what you've been able to build as a nation.
great work, T.
And we're with you all the way, and you know that.
JLP, I'm proud of you, brother. Those are the decisions that count, man. Staying out of the markets when you're not fully focused and when you're a little bit running behind and whatnot. Those are the make or break moments. You're either going to bust up your account, do something stupid, or you're going to stay out and thank yourself after the market closes. Yo, shoot me a text, JLP. Let's get you back on track, man.
Thank you. The ceremony has now come to an end.
All right, so I guess that was it. Little party hype in the markets, but I think we're just coming down for a quick retest, and then we're going to continue back to the upside. If the market clears my original entry, so if I get a better entry than I originally had, then I'm going to enter again. If it's anything above my original entry price, then I'm not going to re-enter. My break-evens got hit, obviously. That was a short press conference. We got it. T, by the way, you're a legend, but I think we got in right on time, right as they started the actual press conference. Good looks.
Yeah, I was watching on Twitter.
Devaney, trust me, I know. I was watching that Model 2 yesterday night. That was what I was waiting for. So when I sent out this markup yesterday, oh, not this one, this one. This was off the 15-minute low. And so rather than sort of like this, the support that we're currently forming, we have this lower level 21,140, which I guess is the exact same price you got. Yep. Okay. So, I mean, we could get that Model 2. I can see that for sure, but I'm going to assume the Model 1 for now. Let's see if we get a pushback pretty close to the body of these candles. If we can just retest the body here, kind of just clear the 88.6, that'll be a perfect re-entry price. Well, damn, I guess that was it.
Secondly, a letter of offer.
Let's see what there is first. There was a letter of
باقية في مجال الطيران.
Let me make sure I get clear about what just happened here. Oh yeah, by the way, check out the chats on YouTube if you guys want to register for the 99 plan, or you guys want to register for the free webinar tonight. Learn how to trade with us.
We will now witness the signing of a number of agreements in the field of defense between the State of Qatar and the United States of America, signed on behalf of the State of Qatar by His Excellency Sheikh Saud bin Abdurrahman bin Hassan Al Thani, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of State for Defense Affairs.
Yes, say that 3 times real fast.
And on behalf of the United States of America by the Honorable Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense of the United States of America. Firstly, a a statement of intent on defense cooperation between the State of Qatar and the United States of America. Secondly, a letter of offer and acceptance for MQ-9B aircrafts. And a letter of offer and acceptance, FS lids. Thank you. It's my honor to.
So this would be the Model 2 entry, by the way. So if you guys want to see this neckline right here, and then we have the support of the Asia/London range. So we come back to retest the low of the range. Obviously, that's Model 1. We come back to retest 21,140. That's going to be, by the way, Devaney, good call. Like literally the same exact price, 21,144. Wow, great work.
To announce the signing of a joint declaration of cooperation between the State of Qatar and the United States of America. Signed.
So they didn't really even specify what the cooperation was. They're just like a piece of paper that says the spirit of cooperation. I love it.
On behalf of the State of Qatar, by His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, and the Honorable Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. The signing ceremony has now come to an end, and now a joint statement from His Highness the Emir and the President.
Thank you very much. We had a couple of hours of great meeting with the president, and we discussed many
It's crazy. As soon as the press conference was over, the markets just went dry.
issues, our a great bilateral relationship, and also the situation in the region. Of course, I think after signing these documents, we are going to another level of relationship between Qatar and the United States. So I just wanted to thank you, Mr. President, again for this historic visit. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you very much. And this has been a very interesting couple of hours. We discussed the world. We discussed Russia and Ukraine, where you've been a tremendous help in so many different ways. We certainly discussed Iran, where it's been really an interesting situation. I have a feeling it's going to work out. I think it's going to work. It's got to work out one way or the other. We know it's going to work out, but you were of great help. And other things, but in particular, the trade is the Kelly's telling me from Boeing, that's the largest order of jets in the history of Boeing. That's pretty good. And that's 140. Was that a 140 or 160? Well, yeah, but you're right. It's actually 200, including the 40. So it's over $200 billion. But 160 in terms of the jets, that's fantastic. So that's a record, Kelly. And congratulations to Boeing. Get those planes out there, get them out there. But I just want to thank you. We've been friends for.
I think this is like Trump's art of the deal kind of negotiation when he's dealing with super rich people. I don't know if you guys remember Masayoshi Son. He's the head of one of the largest investment firms in the world, SoftBank, and they're the ones that pledged $50 billion during the 2016 presidency when Trump came in. They pledged $50 billion. They're the ones that bid up fucking, what was it? I love that place. WeWork. They bid up WeWork when it was like $30 billion valuation. They brought it up to like 52 billion at the absolute height for no reason. They were holding way too much illiquid real estate that was on variable loan. Like the whole shit was fucked up. But anyways, Trump is on, and this is kind of more of a Japanese tradition where if it's sort of like a request that's made publicly, you kind of put someone on the spot and they agree, they have to stick to the word. And so he comes up and he says, Masayoshi-san says they're going to pledge, I forgot what it was. I think it was like it started off as $200 billion. Then he jumped it to 300 billion. He's like, oh, maybe we'll get another 200 billion from you or whatever. And he just kept changing the numbers until they agreed. And obviously the Qataris can afford it. Like the difference between 20 billion and 40 billion to them is not as significant as like anybody else in the world. And so I think he's trying that. He was like, oh, what was it? It was 140 or 160. Oh, you're right. It was 200. What the but we're just throwing billions around like it's fucking like you know what I'm saying? Fun coupons? What are we doing here?
A long time, long before politics. Well, for you, it
But I've seen Pawn Stars before. I know how the game goes.
was politics. For me, it wasn't, right? But we've been friends for a long time, and this is an outstanding man. He's a great man, and we're going to help each other. The United States is in a very strong position militarily. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. You're buying a lot of that equipment, actually, and I think we're going to see some of it in action tomorrow at the
Well, I think we got the gist. Okay. Cool beans. Let's see if there's anything else that Trump said. Maybe there's a press conference after, so let's see if we can go and find potential press conference. There's a reception first. Okay. Let's see what the reception was like. This is obviously going to be before what we just watched. And so let's see what led up to this great meeting. So it looks like he's got a great reception here. Oh, they gave Trump a great reception. Okay. Awesome stuff.
You're gonna have
Wow. Yo, this is gorgeous. This looks like FX Summit 2027. Sheesh.
whether it's investment, we're very
Here.
as to visit Qatar, right? So we're very honored. We're very honored. We're going to have a great agenda today. We're going to be discussing a lot of things. Of course, what's going between us, our great bilateral relationship.
All right, this is just preliminary kind of icebreaker stuff. No press conference after. Trump at headquarters. Who the fuck is this?
You voted for it?
All right, well, relax. House Republicans speak on the big, beautiful bill. This is the one that's $2 trillion that adds $160 billion to the defense budget. Doge was a complete fucking scam.
And I wouldn't be here today, and probably about a dozen other members of Congress wouldn't be here today if not for his bravery that I got to experience firsthand.
All these guys are bought and paid for. They got something on all of them.
On a ball field and tried to kill all of us. And the only reason we're alive today is because he put himself between us and the gunfire, risked his life, got hit during the shootout. And the only reason we're alive and he's not is because of the bravery of David Bailey and Crystal Griner. And while we hear about heroes every now and then, when you actually get to see one and walk around with one, and he came back to work when he got out of the hospital for his treatment, he wanted to go back to work because he loves what he does. He cares about his training. It's not talk.
I don't want to disrespect anybody that got shot, but yeah, not interested. Let's see what we got here. Yo, don't tell me they got the Audi. They got the red Cybertruck with the Qatar flag on it for Trump's reception. Stop. Yo, they're trying to play up to Elon Musk by throwing the Cybertrucks in the convoy. Yo, people, is it just me or is this one of the coolest things you ever? Oh, they really putting Trump on. Why was Doge a scam? Because they were supposed to find $2 trillion worth of fraud. They claim they found $180 billion. That's what they put on their website. If you really adjust it for some of the inconsistencies and the discrepancies that they really kind of just like it was, a lot of it was mistakes. They kind of like mislabeled certain things. Some things were actually appropriated correctly. They found about a $45 billion worth of fraud. And we all know there's more than $45 billion worth of fraud happening. And then Trump just adds $150 billion or $160 billion to the defense budget. So it's like all the savings that we had and all the waste and the abuse, there is no material difference on the spending on the government, even though Trump basically vowed, like his entire mandate was to reduce the spending, pay down the deficit, and or sorry, pay down the debt and reduce the deficit. And they're doing none of that by just increasing the budget by $160 billion. So like, what did they do? And then Elon's basically like, all right, job well done. I'm going to leave it up to the folks who are in charge here. I'm going to let them kind of take the rest of the torch. They haven't even touched the Pentagon. They haven't touched any of like the genuine fraud and abuse that's happening in the government. So it's really just been like these, I guess like you can't really argue against like ending the funding for like Nicaraguan, mime reading or whatever the fuck it was. But there's a way more fraud and abuse. And so I just feel like we were sold a false promise. We were sold a false promise about the Epstein list. We were sold a false promise about the JFK files. We were sold a false promise about MLK. We were sold a false promise about deportations, even though there's only been 70,000 deportations. Not like if Trump continues to do deportations at the same exact rate, he will have deported less people than Biden did in his first year. So I just feel like we were sold a bill of goods on all this stuff. And then we were sold a bill of goods on like, we're going to get to the bottom of what's causing cancer in the food, and we're going to start banning all of these dangerous foods. And then they banned red 3 and yellow 5, which are like the rest of the world, like 190 countries had banned those, what was it? Like not artificial flavorings for causing infertility and linked to cancers and all these different stuff like 15 years ago. And we're like, oh, Kennedy's in charge now. We're going to clean this shit up. And then we banned red 3 and yellow 5. Now, I'm going to give them some time because obviously they're sifting through a bunch of stuff, but I just feel like we were scammed. And I'm waiting for the scam to end. But the Qatar flag on the fucking cyber trucks with the Trump convoy is they're winning me over. All right, step by step. They're winning me over. I'm a simple guy. See a bunch of fucking cyber trucks painted up with, what I'm saying, for the US president, giving him a right reception. I just fold. Is this just a stream of the convoy? This is kind of crazy. Who's playing this music, bro? It's either racist or it's not. What news channel is it? This is CNBC TV 18. What the fuck is that? Anyways, but it was because they gave him so much pushback for being the face. Not really. It was more so like the bureaucratic machine is like a wounded animal. It's like an allergic reaction. So the more they tried to pry, like these people went, it wasn't just kind of the attacking of character, which is a great way to stop people. There's a three-prong war or a three-prong attack that you deploy on people that you disagree with. First, you defame their character. So that way that nothing that they say is taken seriously. You could think about this with, let's say like Alex Jones is a good example of this. So like he said stuff that was true and they're like, all right, let's make him look like a crazy person. So anytime you even mention his name, it's radioactive. And so like the argument falls apart, not because of the substance of the argument, but because of, kind of us having dragged their name to the ground. Then the second one is lawfare, is actually just locking you up and taking away your freedoms and taking away either your financial capacity. So like they tried to slow Trump down by keeping him in courts during the elections to try and stifle his ability to pay for the campaign. And so that's kind of what they're doing with Elon Musk, is the defamation of character, is that he's using this position in Doge to gain, I don't know, some kind of like, dude, I don't know what the fuck they think that he's going to do with social security numbers and all this inside. We can get on the dark net right now. Obviously, YouTube, please. No, I love Hunter Biden. I voted for Hillary. Joe Biden's the best. But we can go on the dark net right now and find everybody's here's socials, address, everything, family members, relative, every fucking piece of info. You can get it for about $200 for about a list of 1,000. Okay. And so the fact that like we have part-time employees that are employees of the Treasury or employees of the Department of State that get to see this information regardless when they're filing taxes or when they're during tax season, when they're doing audits. But somehow the smartest man in the fucking world, the Nikola Tesla of our time, is going to do something nefarious with a bunch of social security numbers. Like this is absolute. Like he couldn't fucking hack this shit and get him if he wanted to. So I feel like they tried to defame his character. It's obviously ridiculous. And then the lawfare stuff, I think Elon and Bezos kind of did a really smart move, which is if you want to be impervious to attack from your government, is get government contracts. So Amazon, through Amazon Web Services, AWS, they're a cloud computing company. They provide web services, they provide cloud computing to the CIA. And so that's a great way to like not get fucking pressed by the CIA. Is like you run their cloud computing services, crash their whole shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so Elon has tons of government contracts, and they're all extremely useful to the national security and defense of America. And so I feel like he's insulated himself from genuine attack from the deep state because it would just be a blatant, like treasonous attack against the national interest of America. But they're going to try all three of those. They're going to try the defamation of character. They're going to try the lawfare against Elon, but he's too rich. He's worth 300, 400 billion dollars. So he's going to fight any lawsuit that ever comes his way. And then the third piece would be assassination. And that's why they pay security, like, you know, millions of dollars a year to protect them, their family, and their progeny. Okay. So those are the three prongs. They tried those with Trump. First, defamation of character, calling him a rapist for I'm not even going to get into it. Then they tried the lawfare. Obviously, we know how that went. There was a Stormy Daniels case. There was he mislisted or misrepresented the value of his properties case, which was bullshit. All of those. And then there was the assassination attempts, which we, by the way, still don't have any fucking info on those. Who the fuck was that guy? Why does he have no socials? How did the FBI get all the info on every other shooter in the past like 3 months? But this dude is somehow still a fucking lockbox. I don't know. All this stuff. So they tried all three prongs on Trump. Didn't work. So Elon was their next target, but that doesn't excuse the fact that they didn't find jack shit except for like the stuff that they reported, which was like salacious, the Venezuelan like Elmo, whatever. In terms of the $2 trillion of just burnt up money at the Pentagon, in terms of the Department of Justice, in terms of let's see, who's got all the fucking money? Dude, investigate Fauci's. I read RFK's book, kind of. I perused it. Fucking, it was a long read. The real Dr. Fauci. This dude is a goddamn war criminal. This is the fucking worst human. And they $20 billion for radio broadcasts that were genuinely like I have family members, I have people that I know that worked at these broadcast networks. And basically the way that I read it, just because I'm like damn near retarded, I kind of just look at things at face value. I damn near saw this shit as a propaganda arm to the Middle East from the US. So there's a bunch of Arabs that moved here to the US, and then they get American news, and then they basically purport that to the Arab people, translate it back, but in the perspective of like the US interest. I feel like, look, I don't agree with propaganda. I think it's fucked up. I think truth always wins, and that's the way of God. However, if you're going to start cutting departments with Elmo and Sesame Street and Iraqi, Jersey Shore, maybe this isn't the one to cut. Maybe the propaganda arm to the most hostile nations to us wasn't the right move. I don't know. Yeah, they failed. All right. Trump at the GCC, though, he said a few things that were very interesting. Let's see if there's any news on the Trump-Israel divide here. See what the news is saying. CBS Evening News. Oh, God.
Let's put the next element on the screen, Jeremy, because this.
Not them again. We went through this yesterday. Let's see what we got here. TBN.
Hey, folks, Eric Stacklebeck here. Welcome to the Wattsman Newscast live stream. Hope all the moms had a great.
Keep in mind, people, I have not vouched for any of the news sources that I'm clicking on. And so we're going to take everything with a grain of salt, as all adults should. MSNBC, the least trusted news source. So at least you can trust the least trusted. You know they're fucking lying. Let's see what they got.
And Yamiche is still with us. Also joining us to discuss more on all this is Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, Susan Page, and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, Joel Rubin. Yamiche, the president chose 3 Middle Eastern countries for his first major foreign trip. Why these countries, and what is the goal?
Well, it's a very interesting question. I want to remind people that he's going to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates.
Bro, how do you have your phone out reading this shit and you still fucked it up?
And I say those 3 countries.
Yo, son. No, I'm not even trying to be disrespectful, but like your whole job is to speak and read off the prompter.
Because it's important to kind of underscore exactly where he's going. Because from my understanding and talking with White House officials and based on my reporting, he's really looking to make deals and all kinds of deals, business deals, nuclear deals, oil deals.
The market seems to have fallen asleep. We're going to get a push in one direction or the other. The market open created a beautiful range on both sides. If we were to delete all the markups here, basically you have a high and a low, about as simple as it gets here. You have this high and this low. All right, so ideally, the closer that we get to this low, the better the entry is going to be. So ideally, we're going to fill the wick to the downside. We're going to fill the wick to the upside. If we get a pullback to the 88.6 of this low, then we're going to come all the way back up. And that's that previous high is going to be our target. We're going to target those equal highs. Ideally, we get a pullback to the downside, but maybe not. You know, if price continues to form support here, buyers continue to hold, doesn't seem to be able to break or fill with anything solid, then we're just going to fill this wick to the upside and break through. All right, so either we get a pullback and we get to re-enter again, or the market is going to fill this wick to the upside and continue up to that daily sell target.
The president is trying to go there and interface with these Middle Eastern leaders to essentially come back and be able to say, look, the United States is getting something out of this trip. It's also interesting because he did also go to the Middle East for his first trip during his first term.
Base of Israel. I heard the president touch on this as well as we're awaiting Hamas's release of Israeli American hostage Idan Alexander. Here's what we heard from the president on this.
American Israeli hostage. This dude fought in the IDF. But in a hostage, bro, it's a combatant hostage. It's a different.
I'm very happy to announce that Idan Alexander, an American citizen who until recently most thought was no longer living, thought was dead, is going to be released in about 2 hours, actually. And he's going to be...
Look, I'm not going to sit here and be fully bitter. I'm going to celebrate anybody gaining their freedom, especially from captivity and something as horrible as getting kidnapped by a terrorist organization, for sure. Let me go ahead and preface that too.
Released before the eyes of Steve Witkoff, who's done a fantastic job.
Yamiche, what
As I've said, Witkoff, complete stud.
do we know about what went into this to getting Idan Alexander free?
Well, this, of course, is a big moment because Idan Alexander, as you noted, is the last living U.S. hostage, the last living American hostage in Gaza, U.S. citizen in Gaza. I also want to say that he's expected to be released in just the next few hours here. The president, maybe in about 45 minutes ago, said it would be in about 2 hours. The president also said this was a step taken in good faith.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
I believe we watched this yesterday. Donald Trump, RFK. Yup. I just want to see Steve Witkoff.
Welcome back. Right now, President Trump's on his way to Saudi Arabia. This is the first stop on a 4-day swing through the Mideast. He hopes will yield about $1 trillion of deals for the U.S. Earlier today, he did not rule out a stop in Turkey, where he would potentially drop in on a sit down between President Zelensky and Putin. It's all part of what he's calling a series of historic events that have unfolded over about the last 48 hours.
On Saturday, my administration helped broker a full and immediate ceasefire, I think a permanent one, between India and Pakistan. In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed. And third, I'm very happy to announce that Idan Alexander, an American citizen who until recently most thought was no longer living, thought was dead, is going to be released.
All right, let's bring in Brett Baer. He's Fox News chief political anchor and executive editor and anchor of Special Report. He joins us now live from Riyadh, ahead of the president's visit. Brett, obviously the White House touting these 5, as I count them, major wins over the last 48 hours. What's the energy like?
Yeah, Jillian, the president will arrive here tomorrow to Riyadh. By the way, we're in Diriyah, which is the birthplace of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It goes back to 1766. And the president and the crown prince, as well as other leaders and the president's cabinet and CEOs, will have dinner here at the palace, the mud brick palace going back all those years, tomorrow night. But as he comes here, the conversation here is likely going to focus on trade deals and not peace deals, and investment that Saudi has pledged, and there will be a lot of it. They'll also probably be talking about Iran, the threat from Iran, and if something can come to pass about dismantling the Iranian nuclear program. But as you said, the big question mark really comes in Thursday, whether Ukraine and Russia can get to some kind of ceasefire in Turkey, and whether the president decides he wants to go and be a part of that. As far as normalization with Israel, it's a step away here in Saudi Arabia, because obviously the great news about the American hostage being released from Hamas today is significant, but there are other hostages. There's a lot left there, and that will take time, according to officials here.
So, Brett, the president's critics, though, unsurprisingly, don't necessarily agree everything's coming up roses. Take a listen to Democratic Senator Chris Murphy.
This is President Trump's corruption tour of the Middle East. He is going to the Gulf in order to collect tribute. What's happening here is an extraordinary level of corruption. We shouldn't pretend this
is how to.
All right, so I'm actually filling this Model 2 re-entry down here, 2144. I think the price is going to end up filling down. We've already had multiple touches at the zone. I think the next one, I'm going to take a tester entry over here at the previous lows of Tokyo and London session, and then I'm going to re-enter when price breaks through. I'm going to probably double up or maybe triple up my entry. I might put 1 contract at the lows, and then I might put 3 contracts at that second entry, maybe 4. I mean, we'll see how we're feeling. Feeling a little dicey today, but market's pretty slow. We're going to basically end the stream here. We're going to come back and check in. If you guys are a Chart Addicts member, obviously I'm going to update you guys in the Discord chat with all my markups as usual. So if you guys are a Chart Addicts member, just keep an eye on the chats for updates. Everybody else, come and learn how to trade tonight. Free webinar every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. The link is in the description. It's free to register. It's just your name and your email. All right, if you're not willing to do name and email, show up for 30 minutes on a Wednesday, and you're not making money trading, I have no idea what to tell you. All right, that there ain't a prayer for you. Okay. Everybody else, I'm hoping you guys have a great rest of the trading day. Happy and safe trading, everybody. Make sure to stick to your trading plans. All right, your job is not to be in a trade or just to constantly feel the need to find a new trade. Your job is to follow your plan, have a tried and tested system that you trust, and then to apply that system. For me, it's to wait for that retest that I just talked to you guys about. Nothing else matters. I don't care what the market does. I don't care what candles form. I don't care if the market just starts running and goes to my take profit without me. I'm not entering this trade because I know it's going to end up at my take profit. I'm entering this trade if the market gives me an entry that's advantageous to me. I don't want to just be in this trade. I want to be in this trade with a proper entry. That way I can have a good risk and reward. I can make money. And if the market doesn't go my way, I'm not over risking. That's the beauty of the R&R game and being patient. So, members, I'm actually favoring this Model 2 kind of mostly. So, if you guys are a little bit more risk off, I would wait for that Model 2 or just let it go. If not, then I would enter a tester. You guys can cut it if it breaks the lows of the double bottom. You guys can just cut that trade real quick, and then you guys can enter a second one if you're one of the scalpers in the group. If not, you can just wait for that entry, or you can just do tester, 1 contract, and then 3 contracts at the second. Pretty simple stuff. Take it easy, y'all. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description, hit like and subscribe. Yes, YouTube is stopping this page from popping off because we spit too much truth and it's antithetical to the narrative, the status quo. It's like, no, it's because I curse a lot, and honestly, there's a pretty chaotic flow to this live stream because I'm kind of going off the cuff. That's probably why. But who gives a fucking, what am I, fucking, you know what I'm saying? What am I, fucking Mr. Beast over here? What am I, fucking Logan Paul? I'm here to give you guys great news, give you guys fucking market updates, provide context about the geopolitical ramifications and some historical context about these different, decisions that are being made, how they impact the future, so you guys can keep your eye on the ball. We go through market news. We go through live trades. We took a live trade today, made money, and walked away. The show was great. I am looking for a re-entry. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit of greed, but I have my strategy down, my risk management strategy. I'm going to risk a percentage of my profits on this next trade, as opposed to risking a percentage of my balance or whatever else people do. So we have these systems. Everything's in place. And overall, just a phenomenal stream. If you didn't think so, get you a fucking head checked. All right, that's all I got. Peace. All right. Remember,